Steve Hartman now, with a tale of generosity.
It hit him out of the blue. Francis Aproku, custodian at James Madison High School in Vienna, Virginia, says he was walking through a parking lot earlier this month when he saw something that literally brought him to his knees.
My leg started shaking. I can't stand. I was panicking, and I have to get myself on the floor, and I was crying.
You were crying?
Yeah.
Hey guys, get him up. He's okay.
Laid out, flat on the pavement, crying. Tears of joy. The trail of these happy tears starts here, with a group of sophomore football players. The boys used to chat with Francis outside their weight room.
These are my people.
Eventually, those conversations led to friendships.
God bless you guys all.
With students like Bennett Hishman, Nick Tiberthopoulos, and Logan Georgeless.
He's always just such a nice person. If we were to have a bad day, he'd be the first guy. I'd be like, hey, are you okay, you know? And we're like, I mean, let's do something nice for him. No one else is going to.
And that's when they asked Francis, if you could have one splurge, what would you buy?
I said, what? Why do you want to know?
Did you answer their question?
Yeah.
What'd you tell them?
I told them that my heart desire is a Jeep Wrangler.
A Jeep Wrangler.
Yes, that's why I'm trying to work hard.
Francis sends money to his relatives in Ghana. He's squeezed for cash. Getting that car was nothing but a pipe dream. So the boys started a fundraising campaign. All on their own they did this. And within just 4 months, they'd raised $22,000. Enough for a nice 2015 Jeep Wrangler. Francis was so surprised to see those wheels, he started rolling.
That's your car, man. That's your car. That's your car.
It got a little to the point where it was like, is he okay? Making sure he's okay, and we helped him up.
And then we finally got him in the car, and he's just in disbelief.
It was incredible.
I will never, ever forget today.
Not because of the car, he says, but because of the kids.
I can't believe this in America. Only America.
Only in America.
America is a great country. May God bless America.
And God bless the Jeep Wrangler.
Exactly, you got it.
With Steve Hartman this morning, time to strike up the band.
He was only in 3rd grade, but Henry Boyer already knew what he wanted to be. As we first reported a few years ago, Henry discovered his passion after attending a University of Michigan football game.
They were that good?
My mind was blown of how good they played.
But it wasn't the football that he fell for. It was the marching band. He even wrote a letter to the band saying how he'd love to sign up someday.
Let's go Blue!
And in response, the band sent him a bunch of swag and a card, inviting him to audition when he's older.
What were you feeling in that moment?
Surprised and heartwarmed.
What did they say?
They said they going to accept me in a few years.
Into what?
Into the marching band.
Are you excited?
Yes, I'm really excited.
After that, Henry asked his mom if he could double up on piano lessons and started taking drums too.
Like the card said, practice hard and I will practice hard.
So you can get there someday.
Yes. I just have a really good feeling that I'm going to be in the marching band.
If all goes as planned, Henry will join the band in the fall of 2029. But we thought, and the school agreed, that's an awfully long time to wait for a dream to come true. So we set up a little surprise, right behind this door.
No way.
Henry, this is your Michigan marching band.
No way. Oh.
We're so excited to have you here with us, Henry.
I can't believe I'm here.
The Michigan Marching Band wrote out a single note, and just look at the symphony that followed.
You got it.
A masterpiece of kindness and inspiration that struck a major chord in this young man's life and continues to resonate to this very day. Last weekend, the band invited him back. Henry, who's now 11, got to lead the march to Michigan Stadium. And when the time came for his favorite song at his favorite venue, Henry Boyer was front and center.
Yeah, that even made me want to join the band even more.
But no matter where his music career takes him, hopefully Henry will continue to follow the lead set by this marching band and play it forward.
Nice job.
Can't wait to join.
Oh, yeah. It'll come soon.
Steve Hartman has a story that can only be described as grand.
To 11-year-old Jude Kofi of Aurora, Colorado, this surprise was music to his eyes. Obviously, whoever said the best things come in small packages was never gifted a grand piano. Jude's father, Isaiah.
So one day it just shows up at the house?
Yes, all for free. Who does that?
The answer in a moment. But first, the reason. About 1.5 years ago, Jude's dad heard a noise coming from the basement. There was an old keyboard down there, but no one knew how to play it. Certainly not his autistic son, Jude. Or so he thought. Isaiah then got Jude a larger keyboard to see what more he could do. And boy, could he do. The kid never had a lesson. No one taught him any of this.
How do you explain that you're as good as you are?
It's a miracle.
You think it's a miracle?
That's what I prefer.
Bill Magnuson prefers that too.
Is he special?
Is beyond special. He's Mozart level. It's coming from somewhere beyond.
Bill is a piano tuner. He saw a local news story about Jude, heard him play, learned how his parents immigrated from Ghana, how they're raising 4 children and sending money back to Ghana.
What resources are left over to help this special little soul?
Yours.
Yeah.
Using an inheritance from his father, Bill bought the piano, spent $15,000. He has promised to tune it once a month for the rest of his life.
Very nice.
And he's even paying for Jude to get professional lessons.
We're family now.
Somebody to just love your son like that by making sure that his future is secured. We are super thankful. Yeah.
Press the pedal.
Caring for other children as your own. The defining note of humanity.
Steve Hartman this morning has a story about brotherhood.
At Clemson University in South Carolina,
Good morning, guys.
the Clemson Life program gives students with intellectual disabilities a chance to learn life skills for independent living.
So we are going to do grocery shopping today.
But as much as the program offers, Junior Charlie McGee wanted the whole college experience, from Alpha to Omega.
Why did you want to join a fraternity?
To have a great time and experiencing that brotherhood and more joy.
Unfortunately, rushing a fraternity is a process. There are interviews and mixers, and even then there's no guarantee of acceptance. In fact, no fraternity here had ever taken a kid from the Clemson Life program. Until now. And when Charlie found out he got a bid, he was so excited, he ran out of his left shoe and into the loving arms of his new fraternity brothers at Pi Kappa Alpha.
We saw him run towards us and we just lost it. And then after that, it was just raw emotion of all of us just taking him in.
That was one of the coolest moments at Clemson that we've had, was seeing that right there, so.
The guys told me at first, some of the members doubted a person with Down syndrome could fit in with the group. But they were willing to do Charlie the favor. Only to learn later that Charlie was the one doing them the favor.
The joy and light that we were missing in our chapter that we didn't know we were missing from the beginning is unreal.
He kind of broke all the preconceived notions that I thought of that a fraternity man should be like.
Others have come to the same conclusion. This year, a total of 6 fraternities and 5 sororities all welcome students from Clemson life. And according to Charlie, it will be a game changer. Because he says something magical happens whenever you're accepted this fully.
My disability, it doesn't really exist.
When you're with your fraternity brothers, you feel like your disability doesn't exist?
Yes, sir.
Now that's a rush.
You've heard the expression, it takes a village. As Steve Hartman discovered, sometimes it really does.
In Cabot, Arkansas, just as the sun begins to set over the local Walmart, store janitor Bill Majalewski begins walking to work for his overnight shift. He will trek 5 miles, 2 hours, in any weather.
Pouring rain, you're walking 2 hours each way.
Yeah, I don't call out. I want to work.
He's gonna go to work no matter what.
Snow?
Snow, I picked him up at 9 degrees the other morning. Let's go.
A couple years ago, Christy Conrad saw Bill out walking and offered him a ride. She got to know him, learned about his daunting daily commute, and how he's also legally blind. So she began driving him whenever she could. At least, that's how it started.
Why did you feel the need to do more?
I can't be always there, you know?
So what was your plan?
Mr. Bill's Village.
Mr. Bill's Village is a Facebook group Christy started a couple months ago. She was hoping to find just a few volunteers to keep an eye out for Bill when he's walking.
And within days, it exploded.
It caught on really quick.
And now it's like everyone's competing to give Mr. Bill a ride.
They'll click and see, is Mr. Bill out walking? Is he headed to town?
So people are just driving around the streets looking for him?
Pretty much. Just like where's Waldo, but where's Mr. Bill? Yeah. It's nice to see.
Today, the group has 1,500 members. In fact, here comes one now.
Hey, Mr. Bill. Do you need a ride to Walmart? Oh, certainly. All right. Come on, hop on in.
You always get picked up now.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And it's always somebody different.
It's never the same person from one day to the next.
That's amazing.
There's a lot of good people in this world, all over the place, you know.
And on that note,
How are you?
here's one more good person.
I'm pretty good.
Chris Puckett is a car dealer. He wanted to give Bill a vehicle,
I wasn't aware that you couldn't drive.
but since Bill can't drive,
I'm legally blind.
I got you.
he handed the key to Christy instead,
For real?
putting the car in karma.
I don't even know what to say. Bill, go get in that front seat. Go over there.
Doing unto others. It's how they roll here in Mr. Bill's Village.
Thank you.
Bye, babe.
Steve Hartman now with a story about friends in need.
Hello, over here.
When people first see 9-year-old Carson Majors of Encinitas, California, almost everyone jumps to the same conclusion.
Go.
But she doesn't have cancer.
Good job.
She's fine.
Easy.
She just has alopecia universalis, an autoimmune disease that results in near total hair loss. Carson began showing symptoms at the age of 6, and within 2 years, her flowing blonde locks were completely gone.
I like to do my hair a lot, but then it fell out, so.
Carson says it still bothers her at times.
Because I miss my hair.
But she says her attitude improved dramatically after a chance meeting on the lacrosse field.
When you first saw her, what did you think?
She was like so nice, pretty, beautiful, cool. She was way older than me.
But equally bald.
She's like, do you have alopecia? I was like, yeah. Do you? She's like, yeah. It was a moment of awe, especially because the sun was setting. It was just like shining down. It was like perfect.
17-year-old Scarlett Hall says she used to hate her hair loss too. But her attitude also improved dramatically after meeting Carson.
Scarlett!
Carson! Hi, kid. I got a best friend. I got a mini-me.
Alopecia in children is rare, which is why Scarlett decided it was especially important not only to engage with Carson that first day, but to remain a presence in her life.
I want to be able to show her that, like, you're perfect. You don't need to look like the people in the magazine cover.
And by all accounts, that message is getting through.
Did she help make you more comfortable with who you are?
Yes,
By something she said or just the way she was?
the way she was.
So friends make that big a difference.
Did you not know that?
I had an inkling, but now I believe it even more.
Two besties, showing the world that hair should never be top of mind, and that bold is beautiful.
That's perfect. I tried to look dead. You did?
Steve Hartman this morning has the story of a school bus driver who really takes his job to heart.
This may look like a normal family reunion, but as you'll soon see, Reed Moon of Zelienople, Pennsylvania is no ordinary patriarch.
Good to see you.
And this is no ordinary family.
This is Anna Gale.
Far from it.
Bethany. Here's DJ. A handsome lad. That's Lewis.
How many kids do you have?
I'll say 200.
Maybe even more.
No, they're not biologically my kids. But emotionally, they surely are.
That's how attached he is to the students who rode his school bus. A job he held for 27 years, even though it wasn't exactly his first choice.
Reed sort of fell into the job. Well, not sort of, he did fall into the job. In 1990, he fell off a roof working as a handyman. After that, he wanted a job closer to the ground. But ironically, he says no job has ever lifted him higher.
It's his children. And being in a position where you can love kids every single day is a lovely position to be in.
Like, he just made everybody feel safe and loved and cared for.
Do anything he possibly could to help somebody. I don't really have a teacher that I remember. I remember my bus driver.
So many kids feel the exact same way, that more than 20 of them had Reed, who is also a pastor, officiate their weddings. A bond so strong that even though Reed retired years ago, former students gathered recently for one last ride.
And they're finding their assigned seat.
Right here in the front.
That they had 20 years ago. And now their child is sitting on their lap. And that kind of feeling is a wonderful thing.
And as for his secret to fostering all this,
So we only had 2 rules on the bus.
Show everyone love and respect.
Love and respect to everybody.
it's a lesson they carry with them
Love and respect.
and on them.
Got a love and respect tattoo?
I'm convinced that when you love and respect people, most of the time, that's what you're going to get back.
Get back
Have a good day, Mr. Minn.
by the busload.
Thanks, Rosie. Have a great day at school, honey.
Steve Hartman has the story of a nurse who's a lifesaver in every sense of the word.
At Community Hospital North in Indianapolis, newborn intensive care nurse Katrina Mullen has a reputation for going above and beyond. But as you'll soon see, the lengths she went to for these triplets and their 14-year-old mother is beyond compare.
Being that age and having all 3 babies premature and sick was going to be a hard road for her.
Katrina was once a teenage mother herself, and she knew that this young mom, Shariah Small, didn't have a stable home life. So, even after the babies were discharged, Katrina continued to visit them and shower them with gifts.
Pacifiers or bottles, 3 matching outfits for them.
What is driving you to do all this?
Just love. I mean, I loved her, I loved them, and I just wanted to see her be a successful parent. She was just there. She was there emotionally, she was there physically, she was there mentally.
Which was all new for Shariah.
Yeah, she was really the only person there.
But Shariah still didn't have a proper home for the kids. So eventually, the Department of Child Services intervened. They began looking for a foster family, or more like multiple foster families, because finding one place for a teenage mother and her triplets would be nearly impossible. And that's when Shariah got a text message that simply said, "I can't wait for you to come home."
Never mind that Katrina already had 5 kids of her own.
What color is that?
She took on these other 4 without giving it a second thought.
It's been exhausting. It's been crazy and busy. But I've never once sat and said, I wish I hadn't done this.
But that seems illogical. You just listed a bunch of reasons why this is a terrible idea. And then you say, I would absolutely do it again.
I would absolutely do it again.
In fact, just a few months ago, Katrina adopted Shariah, who just finished high school and now plans to go to college. All thanks to the nurse, who went above and beyond some more.
Time for something completely different.
Millions of Americans spent time in the yard these past few days, cooking out or just hanging out. But it's a safe guess few of us have had the sort of unforgettable run-in our Steve Hartman now shares with us.
You've no doubt seen many animal rescues, from barn fires to flash floods. Critters cut loose and airlifted. But until you've seen this story, you have not seen it all.
Yeah, it was surreal.
It's an unbelievable thing to see. You know, if we didn't catch that on camera, no one would have ever believed it.
Our drama unfolds at a backyard cookout in Burton, Michigan, where friends Tyler Whalen, John Pazinski, and Bill Messenger were just wrapping up their weekly cookout when a raccoon appeared. The raccoon had just stolen an American single, much like this one, a harmless caper, until it became clear to everyone that this raccoon had bitten off way more than it could chew.
We're looking at it, we noticed it was choking.
Pointing at its neck like the universal sign for choking, it was like this.
Right after that's when Bill just sprung into action and started hitting its back.
And now,
he is choking though.
You've seen it all.
A little bit lower, Bill.
I could not believe a wild raccoon was letting him hit it in the back that hard. I was like, oh my God.
Was leaning back into it like, help me out, brother.
I think it knew that he was trying to help it.
And help it, he did.
There you go. There it is. Let's go. You're laying it down. Yes.
Watch again in slow motion and you can see, right there, out came the cheese.
Oh my God.
For the obligatory don't try this at home warning, we reached out to an animal behavior expert, Professor Suzanne McDonald from York University in Toronto. She is a wealth of information.
I've seen it all. I've been bitten by it all. I've been pooped on by it all.
Perhaps too much information, but to the point.
Don't do that. Don't be slapping raccoons or any other animal on the back. But it wasn't like he was giving them mouth to mouth or anything.
And she says a choking animal can't bite you. Regardless, the guys believe they had no choice.
Who would have thought?
We all thought it was gonna die.
Oh yeah, we were pumped for that little dude.
He was one of us at that point, so we...
Sounds like that raccoon wasn't the only one.
And I'm proud to call these guys my friends.
All choked up.
Good moment.
Steve Hartman has a story of friends sharing a dream come true.
If there's anything even remotely good about having ALS, 56-year-old Craig Reagan of College Station, Texas, says it may be a heightened sense of gratitude. Gratitude for caregivers like his wife Nancy, friends like his dog Taco, and memories like his '73 Ford Mustang, which, even though it stopped running back in 1999, has taken up permanent residence at his house.
It's a big paperweight.
Big paperweight. Why did you keep it?
I just had such an attachment to it.
He's had it since high school.
He was proud of it.
Craig had hoped that someday his boys might want to fix it up with him, but they showed no interest in cars. Then he planned to do it himself, but ALS had other plans. So the car sat rotting until some old high school friends caught wind.
And everybody, as soon as I called these guys, they were like, yeah, let's do it.
It's in your heart. You just gotta help somebody like that.
So, for the next year, they went to work on it, put in hundreds of hours, while other classmates paid for parts. And not long ago,
Are you ready, Craig?
that big, immovable paperweight
1,
was ready to lift off.
3!
It was just almost like a piece of him
That came back to life?
that came back to life.
Pretty vividly, actually.
Okay.
I'm ready when you are.
Craig was diagnosed with ALS in 2016. The disease is incurable, but he has clearly found his treatment.
What's it like to be back in it?
I feel like I'm a teenager.
And as for the people who made this moment possible, they insist the bigger gift was the lesson they received.
He reminded us of something maybe we forgot.
Yeah.
Just do good stuff for people. That's all that matters. Just do good stuff today.
Do good stuff today. No better medicine on earth.
To Steve Hartman with a story about the power of a promise.
You can't hear him over the crowd, and that may be a good thing, as Auburn University coach Bruce Pearl sneers and snarls his way through yet another basketball game.
You see him on the court being tough and stuff to all the players, but there's a whole totally different side of Bruce outside of basketball, which is a nice, loving, and caring person.
Auburn freshman Sam Cunningham's unique perspective comes from his greatest struggle. When he was 12, Sam was diagnosed with leukemia, and not long after, someone asked Coach Pearl to record a video for him.
You gonna beat this, son. Cancer? Pick the wrong hombre. Pick the wrong dude to mess with, okay?
It was just real funny to me. Cancer picked the wrong hombre. It picked the wrong dude to mess with. That quote is what I kept with me when I got in my darkest days in the hospital and stuff.
Through all his complications,
You gonna beat this, son.
through his relapse,
Pick the wrong hombre.
through the days that felt like they would be his last,
Pick the wrong dude to mess with,
Sam kept watching that video over and over.
okay?
Eventually, Coach Pearl delivered the same lines in person,
Pick the wrong dude.
and they became friends. And then one day, Bruce gave him another, even more inspiring message.
Tell you what, you're gonna get better. You're gonna come to Auburn, and you're gonna be my assistant. And he takes me at my word.
He believed it.
He did, and he is.
Today, he is the team manager, and so happy to be here. In fact, Sam says Coach Pearl's encouragement may have saved his life.
That truly healed me. I didn't think I would really get to this point from all the complications I had, so that was pretty amazing. I'm just a miracle to be here right now.
This month, college coaches across the country will be praying for a national championship. But here at Auburn, this coach will be asking for something far more consequential.
In my prayers, it's, God, don't let this thing relapse. Take me. Let Sam live.
Basketball seasons come and go, but great coaching lasts forever.
Steve Hartman this morning has the story of a daughter's quest for answers.
Before she was even born,
This is him?
That's my dad.
Jerry Eisenhower's dad, Army Private William Walters, got shipped off to World War II. All the family got back was his body and a letter that said he died somewhere in France.
That's it?
That's it. I just always wondered where he died, how he died. It was just a little part of a puzzle piece that was missing in my life.
She just didn't have any stories about her dad.
Jan Moore is Jerry's daughter.
Was the family resigned to the fact that you would never know?
Yeah, pretty much.
Until a few months ago. Jerry was at her home in Syracuse, Nebraska, when she got a message. It was from a small village in France, and it read, in part, "On the occasion of the 80th anniversary of the liberation of France, we pay tribute to Private William Walters."
We were looking for our soldier. We did not know that he was their soldier too.
In August 1944, American troops began liberating the village of Grace-sur-Loing. It was a joyous day, but there was one casualty. While crossing the river into town, Private Walter's boat capsized and he drowned at the age of 20. This past summer, a historian from Grace-sur-Loing tracked down Walter's family and invited them to France to honor their shared hero and the sacrifice he made here. As one eyewitness explained, they went looking for him and found him. They did a lot of things to try to revive him, but it didn't work.
He showed me where they laid him,
He was here.
and they covered him with flowers. It's just amazing, the care that they gave him.
Last week, she returned to her father's grave.
First time I've been here and had the answers.
Jerry says she now feels at peace.
It's a good feeling.
And it's all thanks to the grateful people of France, who even 80 years on, still see America through the prism of our better angels.
Steve Hartman is here to remind us Halloween is just around the corner.
Make no bones about it. Bill Pyle's front yard has bones all about it. But to him, the scariest thing out here is his mailbox, which every year curses him with hate mail.
This is a side of Halloween decorations I never knew existed. There are people that complain about them?
Yes, worshiping the devil, you're going to hell, you're glorifying death, yeah.
Which is why he was already thinking about scaling back the display when the last note arrived.
I stopped dead in my tracks in the driveway looking at that letter.
Tammy Wyhe wrote that note.
Yeah.
Tammy has breast cancer, and to get her daily radiation treatments, she had to travel this country road in Oxford, Ohio, right past Bill's house.
Given her situation, it's understandable how this diorama of death could be unsettling. But the tone of her letter was more humorous than sternum.
Tammy wrote, "The Bone family and what they are up to is a highlight of my journey." She went on to explain how her last day of cancer treatment was coming up and how grateful she was for this daily diversion. And when Bill read that,
Tears came to my eyes, really touched my heart.
and right then he knew what he had to do.
Another skeleton.
He worked through the night so that when that letter writer made her final trip past his house in the morning, this is what she saw. A whole skeleton crew cheering her on.
It was very touching to think that somebody would go to that effort for a stranger.
Former stranger.
Good seeing you again. We talk all the time now. You want to take a walk out and see these guys?
Yeah.
Bill says Tammy's letter and now friendship have completely negated all the hate mail, inspiring him to not only keep his display, but to grow it.
Things are going to stay up and they're going to stay active.
All year round?
All year round.
There's more letters to come.
There will be.
Good and bad.
Yeah.
Steve Hartman tells us about the power of a dream.
No one has ever attended Harvard Law School for its sparkling glass doors or smudge-free countertops. In fact, support staff here say most students never even notice their efforts, with one remarkable exception.
He says, just want to give you a hug and, say hi to you.
They say one day, this one student started thanking all of them.
Thank you for what you do.
And this is something very different.
I'm like, what is this kid's angle?
Food service worker Breon Merchant was skeptical.
But once I heard his background, that's when it just all made sense. I'm like, oh, you see us because you're one of us. Mm-hmm. For sure.
That student is Rehan Staton. Before coming to Harvard Law, he worked in sanitation.
My job was to refurbish the dumpsters. I've heard people literally point to me and point to my coworker and say, like, don't be like them. I think it just reminds me to stay humble and just remember I wasn't always standing here.
Today, Rehan has not only maintained his humility, he has multiplied it.
Earlier this year, Rehan started a nonprofit called the Reciprocity Effect. Its mission? To guarantee that from now on and forever, the support staff here at Harvard Law would not only be seen, they would be celebrated.
This was the first Support Staff Awards banquet, honoring, in Oscar-like fashion, the custodians and cafeteria workers and everyone else who makes this place possible.
The feeling of knowing that you are appreciated will always go a long way, especially for those who don't know that.
I think that's what makes what Rehan did so special, is because you didn't even realize how unseen you were until you were seen. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Rehan Staten.
In the coming days, a lot of graduates will stand high on a stage, a great vantage point, to finally see all the people who lifted them there.
You did it! Congratulations, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Steve Hartman has a story of justice delayed.
Seeing her there, cuddled up with her crossword, you would never guess 80-year-old retired school teacher Jenny Schrappen had a pen pal in the penitentiary, especially not one accused of that terrible 6-letter word that starts with M.
He was in prison for murder.
So I got to ask, what were you thinking?
I've been accused of being naive before, and that's okay. I wasn't worried. He's not going to come and get me.
No? We'll answer that door in a minute. But first, how did this sweet little lady cross paths with Lamar Johnson, a man serving a life sentence in a Missouri prison?
25 years ago, a deacon at Jenny's church outside St. Louis handed her a letter from this prisoner. The guy had written the church hoping that someone, anyone, would just write back.
And so I did it. What was it going to cost me? A stamp.
Over the next 2 decades, they corresponded constantly. And although Jenny says she could tell right from the start that there was no way that nice boy committed murder, it would take the state of Missouri 28 years to confirm her intuition.
Is granted.
A couple months ago, after the Midwest Innocence Project got involved and the real killer confessed, Lamar was exonerated at the age of 49.
You did it, Lamar.
Lamar spent the next few weeks doing all the things he couldn't do in prison.
Mr. Johnson hugging a tree.
Including traveling to see one of his best friends at her house for the very first time.
Oh! Look at you!
Ginny welcomed him in, gave him a tour,
This was a new window.
a box of his favorite cereal, and one last letter.
You deserve the best, Lamar.
But Lamar says the greatest gift will always be the confidence she instilled in him.
Especially when somebody is innocent. You want someone to believe in you. Because when you have people that believe in you and they won't give up on you, then it makes it harder for you to give up on yourself.
Lamar says that's what helped get him through 28 years of injustice and now inspires him to serve a life of friendship.
What a guy.
Dress for success is advice not normally tailored to third graders, until our Steve Hartman enters the picture.
Most 8-year-old boys don't get dressed to the nines. To them, suits are for bathing, and formal is a 4-letter word. But James Ramage of Chelsea, Maine loves to dress for third grade success. He started a couple years ago, and at first, the other kids didn't know what to think.
Every time I saw him, I was just like, okay. And I'm like, why is he dressing up?
James knew he stood out.
Did you just decide one day, I don't care what other people are wearing?
I don't need to look like them anymore. I can be who I want to be.
In any school, a decision like that can go a few different ways. You can be accepted for who you are, ostracized for who you aren't, or, in very rare circumstances, you can become a trendsetter.
It just kind of started. Then more people started to do it. Because it looked fun, and now people absolutely love it.
Today, once a week, Chelsea Elementary kids put on their finest for Dapper Wednesday. It's not a dress code. It's not because some adult said so. It's because the children chose so.
Nice dresses.
Teacher Dean Paquette was an early adopter and now an avid advocate.
Stop, look at this. You look awesome.
Being dressed up, kids are different. I think it's a self-esteem thing, and then it carries with them all the way through the day.
All right.
The kids agree. Told me they love how it feels.
I'm a little itchy, but it's fine.
Figuratively speaking.
It feels like I'm not a kid anymore. It made me feel like I was ready for the day. It feels like I'm like a president.
When James started all this, he had no idea the impact.
What's it like to be a trendsetter?
It just feels so nice.
But he doesn't think every kid should wear suits. Just whatever suits them.
Just wear what they want to wear.
Self-confidence. Always a good look.
On this Veterans Day weekend, Steve Hartman on Brothers in Arms.
Veterans Day was every day for 80-year-old Navy veteran Kenneth Jerry. To honor those who served, he used to visit this veterans park in Matomidi, Minnesota, just about every morning, until his mobility scooter broke.
That was my life.
So once the scooter broke down, you could not get to the memorial?
No, I was very sad, depression.
And then all that changed.
All that changed.
Believe me. It changed after he met a stranger in a coffee shop. Her name is Amanda Klein.
Every moment you're talking with him, you feel like he cares about you and you want to know more about him. You know, it's just contagious.
And she says you can't help but help him. So after she heard about the broken scooter, Amanda started an online fundraiser. And within days,
Oh my goodness.
Kenny got a brand new one.
Oh, here we go.
They presented me that scooter.
My goodness.
I'll never forget it until the day I die.
Oh.
And not just one scooter, but a second, super snazzy one.
Oh my goodness.
Kenny was set, but donations kept pouring in, and a guy can only use so many scooters. So he's now on a mission to take the kindness bestowed upon him and scoot it forward.
Over the last year, Kenny and Amanda have donated more than 50 mobility scooters to veterans in need.
Thank you, Kenny.
The latest, a surprise for Vietnam veteran Dave Anderson. Dave's disability was getting in the way of walks with his grandson, but not anymore.
Oh my goodness.
This is for you.
This is for me?
What? Now you can do whatever you want.
Mission accomplished. But Kenny's fight against immobility carries on.
That's my goal, and it will be until the day I die, is to donate scooters to servicemen and women.
In the beginning, all Kenny wanted was a way to get down here to honor the fallen.
God bless you, and rest in peace.
But thanks to the kindness of strangers, he now has a way to honor the living, too.
Steve Hartman this morning has the story of one referee's very close call.
Not many people get to return to the scene of their death. But earlier this month, John Scully of Rochester, New York, stepped back into the gym where his time expired.
That's the last thing I saw right there, 246.
Do you recognize this at all?
John is a basketball referee.
They cut it, right? It's my jersey.
Back in June, John was officiating a semi-pro game between the Jamestown Jackals and Toledo Glass City. That's him on the near side, seconds before his heart attack. The deadliest kind of heart attack, called a widowmaker. Doctors told John's fiancée, Donna, almost no one survives it.
Yeah, 1% of the population, and he's that 1%.
I was in the right place at the right time. I mean, that's why I'm here.
Within seconds, a Toledo player named Miles Copeland rushed to his side and started doing CPR.
I've never witnessed someone just collapse, but I knew what had to be done.
Turns out the Toledo forward is also a Toledo firefighter, a brand new one, just a year out of the academy.
What does that feel like when all is said and done and you've saved a life?
It's honestly one of the best feelings in the world.
Few moments will ever come close, except maybe this one. We invited Miles to stop by the gym. It was their first meeting.
I love you, man. You know I love you.
After quadruple bypass surgery, John says he's feeling better than ever and looks forward to getting back on the court.
And if you're reffing another game that Miles is playing in and he commits a foul, safe to say you'll look the other way?
Safe to say not.
Come on, what's the guy got to do?
I love him, but he's not getting a fraudulent call.
Fine by Miles.
Love you too, man.
Because he's already had the best game of his career.
I'm so grateful for you. I'm so happy you were there. Thank you.
To Steve Hartman, with a story about a simple act of kindness and the lives it changed.
I really like this one.
For Ida Zhugai of Boston, Massachusetts, no matter what shows up under the tree this year, she says no present will ever compare to a gift she got back in 1999 on one of the scariest days of her life. Civil war was raging in Yugoslavia, bombs closing in on her family. So Ida's parents put their 11-year-old daughter and her sister on a plane to the U.S. by themselves. Ida vividly remembers the fear, but remembers just as well the comforting stranger seated next to her, an American.
I remember how kind she was to us, treating us like her family. So it was a bit of a shock, to be honest.
Especially when she handed you the envelope?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that somebody had so much empathy.
The outside of the envelope read in part, "I hope your stay in America will be a safe and happy one. Signed, a friend from the plane, Tracy." And when Ida opened it, she found a $100 bill inside.
Ida and her sister moved in with a relative who didn't have too much more than they did. So that $100 bill fed the family for 3 months. And Ida says it continues to feed her soul to this very day.
That's why I actually kept Tracy's letter, because it's a reminder to me that people are good.
It has also been a main driver in her life. Ida owns 2 businesses that promote environmental and social justice.
The reason why I do what I do is because of Tracy. Every decision that I made had to do with paying it forward. I was wondering if you can help me find Tracy.
A few years ago, Ida put word out on social media, hoping to find the woman who gave her life direction. She spent years searching, until not long ago, when her message finally got through to Tracy Peck of Blaine, Minnesota. Tracy, Ida, and her sister Vanya reunited last weekend.
We just stood there and hugged and cried, and I just felt such a deep love for them.
I can't wait to come to your wedding.
Tracy Peck gave away $100 to total strangers, but she says the gift she has gotten in return is far more precious.
They've taught me the slightest thing that you can do for someone, you don't realize what impact that's going to have on their life. We have no idea.
But if you're lucky, maybe someday, you will.
Steve Hartman this morning explains how sometimes small acts of kindness can have huge consequences.
Inside Buckfeather, an outdoor sporting store in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, we met a great American success story.
Because it's about you.
At 42, owner Matt Busbus and his partners have built and sold several outdoor companies worth hundreds of millions. But Matt says he's never felt richer than he did the day he got the dollar.
I haven't had that much faith in humanity in a very long time.
He says it all began about a month ago.
It was early morning, and the fire alarm was going off inside his condo complex. So Matt shot out of bed and raced down the stairs, only to discover there was no fire. But he's awake now. So even though he was wearing mismatched clothes and all disheveled, Matt decided to go out for a cup of coffee.
And as he was about to enter the shop, he remembered he hadn't done his morning prayer. So, as the security camera shows, Matt stepped to the corner of the patio.
And I start to slowly open my eyes, and there's a kid coming at me about my height.
And with his fist clenched. So Matt prepared for battle.
And he goes, and reveals a dollar bill. And I go, what?
If you're homeless, here's $1.
This is 9-year-old Kelvin Ellis Jr.
I always wanted to help a homeless person, and I finally had the opportunity.
Kelvin says he had just gotten the dollar for good grades. It was the only money he had to his name. Matt was so touched. He invited Kelvin in for a snack, connected with the boy's father, who was next door, and promised to stay in touch.
What's up, dude?
As a reward for his kindness, Matt gave Kelvin a shopping spree. 40 seconds to pick out whatever he wanted in the store, including a new bike. Kelvin says it was great, but definitely not what he wanted to get for his dollar.
What were you hoping would come from that?
Joy,
Joy?
because I helped someone. Give something away, you feel like you got a lot of things from it.
If you give, you're actually going to get more out of that. I couldn't grasp that as a kid. And if we can spread that around, everything changes.
$1. So well spent.
Cheers to friends forever.
Steve Hartman tells us about a cold case with an ending that's nothing short of heartwarming.
Retired South Bend, Indiana Police Lieutenant Gene Eister says he can't drive past this apartment complex without reliving that day.
That was one of the strangest calls I think I've ever had. We have a found baby in a box. Yeah, you always wonder, what happened.
A newborn abandoned in a common hallway. It was 24 years ago, just before Christmas. And for Gene, the case of that baby boy Doe, swaddled in cardboard and blankets, didn't end after the child got to the hospital.
No, I went back with a teddy bear. Just a symbol. Let everyone that walked past know that he was cared about.
And you never forgot?
Nope. None of it.
For more than 2 decades, he wondered what became of this boy. Unfortunately, records were sealed, so there was no way to find out.
Until a few weeks ago, when Gene got a phone call from a fellow officer. Guy said, remember that case, the baby left in the cardboard box? Well, you're not going to believe this.
And I thought, well, what? And he says, he's sitting next to me. I said, he's what? He's my rookie.
Meet Officer Matthew Hegedus Stewart. After his rescue, Matt was placed for adoption. He always knew he'd been left in a box, but only connected the dots to Gene after joining the department. Today, he wears the same uniform Gene did and patrols the exact same neighborhood.
Full circle moment. That hit home. I can only imagine from his point of view.
What it means?
Yeah.
He really can't imagine.
How you been? Good, how are you?
Because what to Matt may feel like coincidence, to Gene feels divined. Their reunion, this new friendship, it's all happening just a few months after Gene's only son, Nick, died unexpectedly at the age of 36.
So the timing couldn't have been any better to help fill a void that I've had to deal with.
24 years ago, Gene was called to be there for a child in need. Now, the child is set to return the favor. And whether it's a coincidence or not, the result is undeniably great police work.
Steve Hartman introduces us to some school kids making sure the wheels on the bus aren't the only thing going round and round.
At Glen Lake Elementary in Hopkins, Minnesota, recess is a mixed blessing. On the one hand, there's so much to do. But on the other hand, not everyone can do it.
It just didn't seem fair that some kids were just left out.
And it's really sad to see other kids go through that.
They didn't look happy, and recess is about having fun.
Glen Lake has a lot of students with physical disabilities, but no wheelchair merry-go-round, swings, or any adaptive playground equipment whatsoever.
Come on in.
Which really bothered the kids in Betsy Julian's 5th grade class, to the point where one day they asked her, why can't we just buy the equipment ourselves?
I said, do you know how much that costs?
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money. $300,000.
$300,000 by her estimation. But the kids were undeterred. They started collecting spare change, then held a bake sale, printed flyers, and went door to door. Then they began cold calling businesses and even got restaurants to donate a portion of their profits. This went on for months, until last week, when they hit their goal.
We were all very happy on the inside and on the outside.
The smile on my face, I could say, was an ear-to-ear smile.
I was just really happy that we made it.
Reese Riley says they worked so hard. It was overwhelming to finally know a more inclusive playground would be coming.
You're a good kid.
Thanks.
And as for the kids who'll benefit, they seem to appreciate the effort almost more than the result.
First time I set foot on this playground, I'm probably gonna start crying. From seeing the effort that all the school has made.
Mrs. Julian couldn't agree more.
My future as an adult is bright, knowing that this generation of students, of change makers, see something that needs fixing, and they go for it, head first.
The whole thing.
Head first and dive deep.
What's our next step?
After raising the $300,000, Mrs. Julian's class set a new goal, to the ceiling and beyond. They now hope to buy adaptive playground equipment for other schools in the district, turning loneliness and isolation into child's play.
You know that saying about walking a mile in another man's shoes? As Steve Hartman discovered, those words still resonate.
Nothing gets past Minneapolis bus driver Jane Arndt Verhelst. Tire pressure, seats clean, all systems go. But recently, Jane noticed a problem outside her bus. It was about a month ago. She was approaching this intersection when she saw a woman standing in the middle of the road.
And then when I opened up the door, that's when I really saw her. I saw her from head to toe, and I was just like, wow.
The woman, who appeared to be homeless, wasn't wearing any shoes.
I can't imagine what it's like walking around in bare feet on the hot pavement, and just nobody sees you. She's just kind of invisible, you know?
You don't have any shoes!
But not to Jane, who immediately took the shoes off her own feet.
Here's one, here's another.
And gave them to her.
No, she's getting my shoes. Oh, okay.
I knew that you're not supposed to drive in your socks. It's a big no-no. But I couldn't help it.
Come on in, you guys.
Several riders witnessed that moment, but perhaps no one was more touched by it than this woman. Sarah Selden had been homeless before. She knows how meaningful a simple kindness can be.
It really affected me because it was like, oh my gosh, she sees this woman.
We're often told to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. But in certain moments, it's almost more important to let that someone stand in ours.
Steve Hartman has proof kindness can be its own reward.
If there was ever an election in this country for kindest American, the people of Galveston, Indiana know who they'd nominate.
Because I think he's out there to help everybody.
That's what he's known for.
He just always has been.
It's the cloth he's cut from. Just a special guy, very special guy.
So who is this great humanitarian who lifts up the people of Galveston? The same man who puts them down. Meet 89-year-old gravedigger Alan McCloskey. Alan has been at this job since 1952 and refuses to retire because he says a new gravedigger might not square the corners as precisely, might not care as deeply for all those loving souls.
Yeah, people that have went to school with and worked with.
What was your hardest one?
My wife.
How'd you get through that?
I figured she'd want me to do it.
Alan and Barbara had 3 kids, but his definition of family extends well beyond blood, which may explain why a good chunk of the town gathered recently for what Alan thought was someone else's birthday party, but was really a celebration of him. At the party, he got an official Guinness World Record for longest career as a gravedigger, 70 years and counting. But more importantly, he was recognized for the thousands of odd jobs he's done for people. It's his side hustle, but with a twist.
We'd ask Alan for a bill, and he wouldn't give us a bill.
Never get a bill. I'll send you a bill.
He said, I'll just catch up with you later.
And then
Later never came.
you never hear anything more about it.
It was the running joke at his party.
Anybody in here still waiting on him to send you a bill for work that he did? Yeah,
I did ask Alan about this.
They say they can't get a bill from you.
Oh. But all I got was a hearty laugh. Alan McCloskey, unassuming by profession and persona, but also a bold beacon for anyone in search of meaning.
Alan has figured out what life is about. It's not the money that makes him happy. I truly believe Alan has figured out where enough is at. He's found enough.
And strange thing about finding enough, you often end up with more than enough.
You've no doubt heard the old adage, one good turn deserves another. Steve Hartman has proof.
At the bottom of a hole in Chesterfield County, Virginia, utility worker Calvin Gaudette is fixing a leaky water main. But no gusher down here compares to the fountain of good deeds he delivers up there. Whether it's buying coffee for the next car,
Take care of the people that behind me.
or groceries for a random shopper,
I'm gonna pay for this.
Calvin gives away about half his income to total strangers.
I'm gonna fill your truck up for you.
In return, he may get a thank you,
Why's that?
at best. But he remains undaunted.
You don't never know. You could do something for somebody or talk to someone and you can change the whole situation.
He says it happened once.
You can come around, thank you.
A few months ago, Calvin was in this Burger King drive-thru when he happened to look in his rearview mirror and saw a woman who just seemed sad. So Calvin did what Calvin does, bought her meal. Only this time, his random act of kindness would not soon be forgotten.
Somebody to do something that nice for you on that very moment when I thought nothing could make me happy again. It just touched my heart. This is Andy.
Denise Walters had just lost her husband of 41 years.
I just wish he was still here.
And says Calvin's kindness was exactly what she needed at exactly the right time. In fact, it had such a profound effect, she chased him down, told his boss, and got him recognized before the County Board of Supervisors.
He saw that I was upset and showed compassion to a complete stranger.
How you doing?
Since then, they have stayed in touch and grown their circle.
Nice to meet you. I'm Chris.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
Told us you may have lost your husband, but you gained a family.
He's just an amazing man. Just an amazing man.
He's also her new role model.
I want you to have this.
Denise is now doing the same thing.
He has shown me the way.
So you feel like you're on a mission now?
Oh, absolutely. If he can do this, I can do this.
And maybe
Can I have a hug?
we can do this.
Go spread that joy somewhere, okay? Thank you.
Steve Hartman is serving up a morning meal that's nourishing for body and soul.
They come together at the crack of dawn from all directions, converging on this tiny house in St. Louis, Missouri for their weekly Wednesday visit with 66-year-old Peggy Winkowski.
It's raining.
Grandma Peggy brings everyone together. She's just like a built-in grandma to all of us. She cares for us a lot. She really cares for us.
The students who visit Grandma Peggy attend Bishop DeBerg High School and are part of what they call the Wednesday Breakfast Club. Seeing the spread, you can understand why kids might want to come here. But what isn't so clear is how Peggy got roped into hosting.
The Wednesday Breakfast Club actually used to meet at this diner. Until one day, a kid named Sam Crow said, "You know, my grandma could cook better than this." So the next Wednesday, they showed up at her doorstep.
I'm like, okay. And they came all school year every Wednesday.
That was back in 2021, and it continued merrily until that day when all joy was lost. About a year and a half ago, Peggy's grandson Sam, a sophomore at Bishop DeBerg, was killed in a hit and run. The boy was beloved. So, of course, breakfast was the last thing on anyone's mind. And yet, the very next Wednesday, and virtually every Wednesday since during the school year, the kids have returned to Grandma Peggy's in numbers far greater than before.
Sam would be so proud. Look at when he started.
Everyone coming together for a heaping helping of healing.
It melts my heart.
It's really not about the food. It's just about being together.
We benefit from her. She benefits from us. It's like we feed off each other.
And we're like keeping his memory alive. So yeah.
Good morning, guys.
Everyone grieves differently, but those who manage it best always seem to blanket themselves with kindred spirits, sharing the burden, teaching each other to laugh again, and building tradition to make sure those memories are as snug and sustaining as a warm meal at Grandma's.
This is the best morning, isn't it? Makes Wednesday so much fun.
In this season of giving, here's a little inspiration. Compliments of Steve Hartman.
Here at Teachers Treasures, a free store for educators who need school supplies, Executive Director Margaret Sheehan is still stunned at her good fortune.
It was an act of amazing kindness.
After someone called to offer her nonprofit more than $1 million.
To which I responded, I need to sit down.
And it wasn't just her. For the past 2 years, across the city of Indianapolis, dozens of other nonprofits have gotten the same call.
The first thing he said is, "What would you do with $1 million?"
We hovered above our own bodies, thinking like, is this real?
The man making the calls was attorney Dwayne Isaacs, and he says just about everyone had that same reaction. Some wouldn't even hear him out.
Probably 3 or 4 different entities that lost out because they just didn't take my call.
Lost out on $1 million.
Yeah.
It was that unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And you still haven't heard the most unbelievable part. The money isn't his. He's just the executor. The money belonged to a guy named Terry Kahn. Terry worked 30 years for the Veterans Administration. He had no immediate family, and most importantly,
he just was unbelievably frugal.
Terry lived in this modest house in South Indianapolis, drove an old Honda, and refused to carry a cell phone because he said they cost too much. Even when he died back in 2021, he wanted no announcement, because who would spend good money on an obituary? The man was pennywise, but pound generous.
Everything was directed to charity, but Terry didn't specify what charity, so Dwayne called around to see who wanted it. And in the end, about a dozen nonprofits took his call and got a share of the $13 million estate.
So yeah, it's crazy.
Including $1.5 million for teachers' treasures, roughly double their annual budget.
Forever changed because of his choice of how he lived.
He's smiling someplace, there's no doubt about it. He would be getting a kick out of this.
Yes.
If only because he just got a glowing obituary on CBS News. And it didn't cost him a dime.
Steve Hartman has the story of a man with the weight of the world on his shoulders and a neighbor who's eased his burden.
On Detroit's west side, we found a story on a second story.
It's a duplex.
Yeah.
Downstairs renter Colin McConnell says the new neighbors above have been disrupting his peace below.
I thought it was the Detroit Lions practicing up there some nights, you know.
In actuality, it was 3 peewees, running backs, and fourths across the hardwood. The kids belonged to 33-year-old Don Wilson. And for months, Colin knew nothing of Don beyond what he could hear through the floorboards. But when they finally met, Colin says he picked up a whisper of something much more.
You could just tell something was weighing on him. So that's when I kind of was like, you good? And he just kind of was like, not really.
Turns out, Don had just lost the love of his life and mother of his children. LaKenya had a stroke and died this past summer. She was 39.
Just not having that person here, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I can't be like her. You know?
Juggling the kids and a full-time job with virtually no savings was overwhelming.
After Colin heard that, the noise from above became the least of his worries. He posted a video on social media asking for anything to help this guy. And within hours, the boxes started showing up on his doorstep.
This is all for you, bro. What? Oh. Yeah, bro.
It was everything Don would need for Christmas and beyond. But he says the best gift was that it all came from strangers.
That was the best feeling because it was random people that you don't expect, that surprise joy. It's amazing. I never felt it before.
Very soon, people around the world will be listening for sleigh bells. But in this tiny duplex, this man will be listening happily for the pounding feet of children enchanted and know that Christmas has come.